in our Nature Works grant.
Brian, do you want to say anything before, or do you want me to say, because I don't know.
Well, it's up to you. You're the boss.
What do you think, Tanner? This is my first meeting, so
Well,
I'm trying to.
let's preface it with what we're doing in the neighborhood, and then
Yep.
we'll let Brian do his thing. How about that?
Okay.
Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Make sure you pull your mics to you, by
Yeah.
the way, Bruce.
Closer, closer.
Okay. So, in the budget narrative, we talked about how we were going to be doing, more community engagement to help us plan some of these capital improvement projects. Going back to 2021 with the Master Parks Improvement Plan,
Bless you.
we started looking at, getting serious about some of the park upgrades, especially, we've heard from the West End, particularly Arch Park, or the community around Arch Park, saying that they wanted some improvements here. So this week, actually today, we finished up and sent out almost 400 community or surveys in that community. So that's Sandusky West up to about Fountain Street, and then south of High Street to Arch Avenue. So there's, again, it's about, if I'm being exact, about I think 384 residences that will be receiving surveys. There's a letter and a two-page, well, actually four-page, 2 pages front and back of a survey, or with a QR code. You can fill that out. You can send it back in to us. So it's asking information first about flood mitigation. Second, about like hard infrastructure, sidewalks, roads. These are street lighting, things like that. Accessibility, like if you feel that you're in a food desert, if you feel like you don't have access to health, public transit, stuff like that. And then third, which is a big chunk of it, is what kind of, we consider that area the Arch Park neighborhood. This is your neighborhood park. What kind of improvements do you want to see in your neighborhood park? Which is kind of where we're getting with this ODNR Nature Works grant. Before we go shoving stuff into a neighborhood park about thinking, well, we think this would be good for this park, we want the people that would most likely utilize this park to have the first input on what would go in that park, right? Okay. So, we look at Aerial Foundation Park is a regional destination park. Now that Captain Hunter's Landing is in, the Riverside Park, that's more of a regional destination park. People will really come to Mount Vernon for that. But you're probably not going to get a whole lot of people traveling from other places to come to Arch Park. That's truly a neighborhood park. So the people that really deserve the most outsized input on what needs to go in that park are the people that live right next to it. So that's why we wanted to get, that data from those people. We assume, well, we're boldly assuming, and you can do what happens when you boldly assume, but you boldly make a what out of yourself. So we can assume, though, that one of the things that we traditionally hear when we start talking about amenities in parks is people want public restrooms. And when it pertains to this ODNR Nature Works grant, it's a grant that we share with the county, and we go in cycles. And we've been out of a couple cycles, sounds like. Mm-hmm. So the cost share of that, or the grant share the award share, I should say, has kind of shrunk over time, and we surely don't want to skip out on that. So if we're putting the cart a little bit ahead of the horse, we're going to assume that the community is going to say, yes, we want a bathroom. We already have that kind of model. I'm not going to take too much of Brian's sunshine here, but we already have that model. It's stamped, like, engineered stamp, so we can move forward with that a lot more quickly. If we get an overwhelming response that the community's like, absolutely not, no bathroom, then we'll amend the grant. But I'm gonna let him take it away from here.
Yeah, so background, Nature Works is a fantastic program. It's been around for decades. The previous pool was a Nature Works project. We have several sections of bike trail. We have features inside of Foundation Park. So it's a program, and it's based on a county allocation. So traditionally, we have taken turns with the Knox County Park District. There's been a few years where they did not have a project. Our American Heritage Park was part of that, was funded by the last round of Nature Works. the county parks did a project, there was residual funds, so in that grant, we just picked up a small amount, but we made sure it was used. So we were planning to take the year off. That's why we're bringing this to you at the last minute. The grant is due June 2nd, but we need to have most of our part done by Thursday.
Wait a minute. So we're not gonna meet before June 2nd, so we can't suspend the rules tonight, so what happens with that?
Well, Tanner's plan, and I agree, I endorse this, we are going to turn in the grant with a missing piece, which is the legislation. And since Tanner sent me an email, and I met with all the village administrators, county parks district, and Sam Felkins led the meeting, went around the room. Nobody has a project to use this money. So I came back to us because we have a project. So our hope is we are going, at the direction of the Safety Service Director, if there is no objections in this room, we will turn the grant in minus that one document. And we're hoping that our performance record and our relationship with the DNR gives us a grace period to have that turned in after the next council meeting. So there are, for Knox County, we have $47,681 on the table.
And to clarify further, the reason this is last minute is it's not our turn.
Yeah.
Nobody else was going to take a turn, and instead of just leaving money on the table, this will be for a project for next year. We have not planned these capital projects. Again, we're going to go per that budget narrative. We're going to start talking about this in June, July. That's when we're going to start. We're going to get that data back from that area. So if we know that this is coming up, this is out of our cycle, but it's money on the table, why would we let it go?
Yep.
And tonight, we anticipated that this would kind of sail through, but unfortunately, we have two council members that couldn't make it. So what we would like to do is, unless we hear, in this committee meeting, essentially, we're not asking for any sort of straw vote, obviously, but unless we hear.
Because that would be illegal.
Yeah, correct. But unless we hear some sort of, radical, opposition, what we would like to do is go ahead and submit the application and again, amend the application with the legislation following the next council meeting. And I believe that ODNR will not cause too much of a stink with that.
Yep. They want this money to be put into projects. So the other important thing, council, besides this action, there will be two other actions. So you will be approving the 2026 budget, and this would require legislation authorization to bid the project. So this is not the last, so assuming this goes through and we get the grant, there would be two more steps at a minimum before we get there.
And accepting the award.
Yeah, and so the third one would be accepting the funds. So the project that we have in front of you has an opinion of probable cost of about $250,000. So outside of the nature work grant, the maximum is a little over $47,000. We would hopefully get some additional get some private donations, and then we would have to budget. Now, again, as we work through the public involvement, we may make this a bigger project because we did plan through these budget cycles to reinvest in some of the parks that we have gotten behind on. So this is sort of the master plan coming to fruition.
For all of you that don't like outside money, raise your hand.
OPM. other
And
people's money.
Chuck Dice would be very proud of this. This is his park. He lives across the street from that, and Chuck was very interested in anything that happened at Arch Avenue.
Right. The other thing that was a good note. So with AEP rebuilding the transmission lines, we were mandated to demolish the water fountain and the pavilion. We were compensated for those structures since they've been there for many decades. That money was deposited on the reimbursement for those, and then AEP, we shifted the easement slightly north to make the usable part of the park bigger. AEP also compensated us for those. So I don't have those numbers with me because I have a non-disclosure agreement based on what they paid us with AEP, but we do have other money from AEP that's deposited that can be hopefully allocated in next year's budget.
Some of the other features that have been proposed for this park are significantly cheaper for install over this. So even if this project were to creep up to, say, $500,000 as a, a total investment, you're gonna see a lot more amenities added over here, and this would be the big ticket item, I would say.
Yep. Other questions?
Anything else?
Does anybody hate this?
I love this. And I know I have
Says
You
second
would
ward
love
council.
a bunch of people right around me who are under the age of 14 that would love this as well.
Right. And we've got a couple options, so we don't know the price, but we will make the application based on an exact replica of the Harmony Park restroom, because that's the one we have permits for. As we get closer to the project, we may do a competitive bid where we do a on-site build versus precast, because again, the splash pad was an on-site build, and we could bid this competitively to try to see who gives us a better deal. So there are some things we can do to work on the specific pricing through, I believe, in open market competition. And if we bid it an alternate precast versus alternate build on site, we get a little bit more competition, because we know there's really only one precaster that can provide this, and we want to keep them honest.
Anything else? Mrs. Egger, you done?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we're adjourned this committee meeting. We're now in recess until 7:30 PM. We begin the legislative portion of the meeting. And just so the press knows and the public knows, I will ask that the agenda be amended tonight to have an executive session after the meeting. Our clerk of council has turned in his resignation as of July 31st as clerk. He will still stay on with the city, working with the mayor. But this is the one time that the council needs to hire somebody. And so they will be working directly for council. So that's the purpose of the executive session, Cheryl, is for personnel employment reasons. Okay, we're now in recess until 7:30.
Thank you.